Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Keeping It Real with Shaquille, where we inquire to inspire. I'm your host, Shaq Cook, and guys, first off, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting this show, watching this show grow. Thank you for your views. Thank you for all of your support and love. This show wouldn't be what it is without you guys, so I want to say thank you. Make sure that you go and like us on Facebook at Keeping It Real with Shaquille Talk Show. And then also go like us on Instagram at Shaq_attack_CEO. Make sure to go and support our podcast, The College Football Highlight. You can listen to it on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and you can also listen to it on Anchor. For all high school students across the nation, yes, if you're a senior in high school and you're getting ready to graduate, and you're going to a 4-year university this fall 2019 semester, make sure that you apply for the Keepin' It Real Shaquille Outstanding Student Scholarship. And as you can tell, I'm taking it back to school with all these books here. I'm in the library. So make sure that you guys apply for this scholarship. It's a $500 scholarship, and the application deadline is July the 4th. And guys, as you know, we have a brand new play coming up, not through us, but I'm also in that play. And it's through Mr. Daniel Barksdale, and he is very creative. And the play is called Dear God, Thank You for My Child. And we're going to provide you guys with updates about the play. So make sure to stay tuned because we have a lot of positive and a lot of great things that are happening. So without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get started and jump into the show. Guys, we have a very special guest with us tonight. And I'm so happy and been eager to get him on the show. And I was so happy when he agreed to say that he would be on here. He serves on city council here in Lynchburg, Virginia. He is a mentor, loved by many in his community. He is co-founder and executive director of the Jubilee Center here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Guys, please give a warm, Keeping It Real Shaquille welcome to Mr. Sterling Wilder.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes, sir.
So just tell me a little bit, how did the Jubilee Center get started?
Okay, right now Jubilee is celebrating their 20th anniversary.
Awesome.
It started, I was working as an internal auditor in Washington, D.C., and I was mentoring kids on weekends. So I was from Lynchburg. After I finished college, I moved to Washington, but I commuted back and forth every weekend to Lynchburg, working with kids in our church. And one of my kids got into some trouble. And I said, what could I do on a more of a full-time basis? If I had a community center, if I could work with my kids on a long-term basis, what could I do? So I left my job in Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I left there probably in February or so of 97, I believe.
Okay.
And then moved back to Lynchburg. My mother also had cancer at the time. So it was an opportunity where I could spend time with her. And I was working my mentoring program on a full-time basis. Okay. So to move back to Lynchburg, I was trying to decide how to partner with different people or what I could do to have a community center, because we were using our church basement, and back then it was just really a small, cramped one little room, you know.
Right.
We had like an Atari old video game system back in the day, so it was like 20 plus years ago. So I was trying to see how could I raise funds and how could I find a spot to do a community program like what Jubilee is today. So a friend of mine named Mike Anderson, he had been to our church for a little bit, and we had known each other through some other avenues. He knew what I wanted to do, right. And a gentleman by the name of Kevin Campbell was a director of Habitat for Humanity. And so basically, okay. And behind us is, we used to be called Greenfield, now it's called James Crossing. Yeah. So at the time, they were building the Habitat houses. The city council said there needed to be something for the families to do, because you have a lot of single families, to a low-income area. So there needed to be something for the family to do to keep them encouraged, to help give them, to help build them up. So I was looking for a spot, and Mike knew that Kevin was trying to do something, so he connected us. Awesome. So we formed the board of directors in probably December of 97, and then broke ground in 98. Wow. So we got a lot of friends together, and then we opened up the February of 1999. Now it's 20 years ago, and wow. That's how it all got started, through network, through friends, through different connections, through the divine intervention of God.
Absolutely.
Mainly because it was perfect. I don't know how spiritual you are, but
hey, I'm a born again believer.
But every walk that I have has been ordained by God. Yes. All the timing, from the time I got out of college, was during the time of the savings and loan banking crisis, where a lot of banks were failing. So I finished college on a Friday. I had a job on a Monday working in Washington. Everything has been God's timing.
Wow.
And my company, by 97, the banking industry was doing better. So they were giving people like a buyout.
Right.
So, and I needed a cushion. I was trying to decide whether to stay in Washington or to stay and move back to Lynchburg full time. Because the weekend thing, traveling 66, 29, 3 hours plus every Friday was a little bit much for me. Right. So I was trying to decide I was going to stay in D.C. or move back to Lynchburg. And when they offered that buyout, that was my sign from God saying, I got your back. I got your cushion. And you don't want to just be, and I had a house here in Lynchburg, a rented house in Washington. And, I was, in my 20s. I don't want to just be a burden on my parents.
Right.
So I made sure I had some financial resources of my own so I wouldn't be a burden on my parents. So I have some funds to help start a nonprofit so I can make sure I could live on my own without having to borrow from my parents and things like that.
Absolutely. Wow, that is amazing. So you stepped out on faith, and then there were people who also believed in your vision and that were like-minded and was able, and God blessed it, and it was able to be birthed and exist.
And that's crucial when you're walking in the divine calling. Right. When you're walking with your purpose, a lot of times people don't know what their purpose is. Right. But when you find that purpose, then God will make the path for you. Wow. So with me, in the right connections, the right timing, I knew it was God, but then He provided every step of the way. Right. He provided the right resources, the right finances, the right people that were connected to finances.
Absolutely.
Like a Susan Carrington, who was one of our board members. She had just lost her husband to Lou Gehrig's disease. She was like 38. Here she was, had just lost her husband. She was raising 3 boys, and she became a board chair. And during that process, it was more so a part of her healing process. Absolutely. But she was well connected to people in Lynchburg with wealth. So because of that connection and what we were doing, and people believing in her and believing in the story of Jubilee, that's how we were able to raise funds to build our building in 1999, to build the building and to do all the various things we have done over the past 20 years.
Oh my gosh. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because I know that there's someone out here who's watching right now who feels that God is leading them to do something, but don't know where the resources are going to come, and kind of maybe living in fear because of maybe fear of failure or anything. But I think with you sharing how the Jubilee Center started, that can really encourage somebody to get rolling.
And I think the crucial thing, I get so many comments about people asking, how did you start? We were on the Oprah Winfrey show in like 2000. Wow. And one thing we did, but after that especially, you got all these people all over the world asking, how did you start? What did you do? But one thing I always encourage people, if you have a vision, if you have a calling, first you need to partner with another group. Instead of just launching out there by yourself, to me it is so much easier to partner with a group. Like when I first started working with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I started mentoring kids to that program. I partnered with various other agencies before I launched it on my own. So it's good to partner with people, and also you don't have all the resources yourself, so you got a partner. Absolutely. And that's how we've been successful, is we partner with about 30 different organizations to make it all work.
Wow, that's amazing. So what all does the Jubilee Center offer for the community?
Well, Jubilee is an educational recreational center. We have 3 phases: education, athletics, and occupational. Okay. So the education piece is after-school tutoring programs. We have a full-day summer camp, which starts on June the 3rd. It's only $30 for a whole week for a child that's ages 6 to 13 for the summer camp. Normally it's about $100, but we get scholarships from Central Health, from Community Trust, from Genworth, where we get scholarships to be only charged $30 a week. Wow. And I've never turned anyone away, but we try to make parents more accountable so we continue supporting the center. So the summer camp get ready to start. After-school programs are currently going on. We have about 20 plus volunteers from Liberty, University of Lynchburg, some other colleges. They help mentor kids, tutor kids. Right. And then you have various programs on weekends, which is the mentoring programs. The one is called the Building Young Men Mentoring Program, which I started over 30 years ago in the basement of my church. That program was here. So every second and fourth Saturday, we work with young men between the ages of 7 to 18 from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock in mentoring sessions. Wow. So we have like manhood lessons. We'll do some recreation from basketball to computer lab to video games and various other things. And then we have like our table talk. We have lunch for the young men. And then we have our table talk. Talk about manhood. Talk about dating relationships. Wow. Talk about sexually transmitted diseases. Talking about career goals. Talking about plans for your future. So again, work as a young man, and that program has been going on for over 30 years now through the mentoring program that we also do here at Jubilee.
Wow.
And then in addition to that, we have the athletic programs. We have a beautiful gymnasium. We built the gym in probably, I think it was like 2000. We built the main building in 99. We built the gym about 2002, I believe.
Okay.
Or we built the gymnasium in 2001. There's a full court gym that holds about 400 persons. We have the two main goals and then the four side goals.
Right.
And we have various programs from weight loss programs for youth and adults, from AAU practices to we've had tennis in our gym. We've done some indoor soccer. We do a variety of sporting programs for youth as well as for adults. So we have a great weight room. So during the school year, when kids are in school, during the daytime, we open up our computer lab as well as a gymnasium for our citizens in our community if you want to work out, if you want to look for employment. So those activities we have for the adults in our community. And then the third phase is the occupational center. So we have a person look for jobs, do career programs for youth and adults. Right. Next door to us in our Beth Cosby building is the program for the Youth Works, where the main goal is to help youth ages 16 to 24 to look for employment. So if you're 16 to 24 and you meet certain income requirements, like low income and things of that nature, then you can go to the Youth Works next door to Jubilee and look for employment. We also have different career classes for adults, from like welding to electronics. We're partnered with a variety of groups, from the NOW program. We partner with CVCC. We partner with various other programs to help persons look for employment, help them teach them a marketable skill, or give them those basic tools they need to look for a job, or even to get into another career program. So we may take a beginning class here, like in culinary arts. Right. Take a beginning class here, and then we refer you to CVCC or other programs where you can get some additional learning.
Wow, that is amazing because, like you said, it's 3 phases, and you serve pretty much any and everybody in the community.
Yes.
And with the recent tragedy that happened exactly a week ago with my nephew Dreon Brawley,
yes.
Something that hurts us is to see our young people lose their life or lose their lives to unnecessary violence.
Right.
And so the Jubilee Center is definitely an outlet for the Lynchburg community. And so you guys offer a lot. So how can people get involved? Do they just come and sign up, or who can they get in contact with?
They can come. They can call the office at 434-845-0433. They can go to our website at www.jubileefamily.org. They can also go to my personal Facebook page. I'm always listing activities that we're doing here at Jubilee, or we're doing it for the city. And then we have very special events. Right. We have one coming up on June the 8th. It's sponsored by a group called, I believe it's called Mothers Demand Action, I believe.
Okay.
And it's mainly talking about violence. So it's going to be a block party here at Jubilee on June the 8th from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. There's going to be a variety of vendors here. Some food is going to be here, the bounce houses, other education information for parents and children. But it's also, the main thing it's the National Gun Violence Awareness Weekend. And that's going to it's called Moms Demand Action. So those who've been touched by violence, by shootings and things of that nature, and also bring more awareness to people in our community. So this group, the Moms Demand Action, having free food, raffles, sporting events, also a basketball tournament, voter registration, and various other things. It's going to be here at Jubilee again on June the 8th, Saturday, from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Again, it's called Wear Orange Day. So again, it's that National Gun Violence Awareness Weekend. So we partner with groups like that and various other groups have various block parties or seminars or workshops for youth, adults, or for families. We always have something going on for our kids and for our adults in our community.
Absolutely, and I love it. And especially during a time like this, with what happened last week, it's important for people to know that there's an event and that there's a group of people who are standing against violence.
Right.
So now another unique thing about yourself is that you actually serve on city council.
Yes.
And so how did you get involved, and why did you decide to run for city council?
I served 9 years on the Lynchburg School Board. When I first moved back to Lynchburg, I think moved back in 97. I started the school board, I think, in 99, the same year that Jubilee started.
Right.
I got on the school board. I was working on my master's in education and counseling at Lynchburg College at the time, and also got on the school board and Jubilee at the same time. It was like 3 things were kind of going on a lot in '99 with me. So I got on the school board and served for 9 years because of work with youth. And a couple of my kids got like long-term suspensions. And I always want to say, wow, if I was on the school board, I would try to change some of that.
Right.
I love our education system. My parents always pushed education and my family members. And I always want to see what can I do to be a part of change. What can I do to help the education process, especially for our people?
Right.
So I was on the school board for 9 years. And then the school board received their funding from Lynchburg City Council. So after serving it for 9 years and then having a challenge with the city council in securing funding for the school system and things of that nature, you always ask yourself, what can you do to make change?
Absolutely.
And I went to a seminar, and a lady, she's on the school board in Amherst. And one thing, it was Andre Ray was doing the program, and she was on the panel.
Right.
And one thing she said was that if you're not at the table, you're going to be on the menu. And to me, it's so powerful that if you want to be a part of change, you got to be in a position to have some change done.
Right.
Or be a part of the budget process, or be a part of the process that has policy or legislation. So that's why back in the days when the Civil Rights Movement, when Martin Luther King were marching on the streets and for the Voters' Rights Act and various other things, they knew certain laws needed to be put in the books. They knew they needed to be active in that government. They knew they needed to register people to vote, so they could put the right people in office. They knew in order to be a part of change or to make a change in the community, they needed to have a voice.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make sure I had a voice in my community. I wanted to make sure with the ideas that I had or the ideas I wanted to see done, sometimes, especially in the work that I do between city council and school board, you're always hearing people saying, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? And you get so many, I don't want to say comments, I don't really say criticism, I guess.
Right.
And sometimes people just don't want to do. They just want to sit back and complain. So my goal to people is always, what are you doing to help our youth? What are you doing to help our citizens? So I could have sat back and watched and say, well, why did they fund this? Why did they fund that? So it impressed upon me to be a part of that change, to be a part of the change you want to see in your community.
Absolutely.
Be a part of how you want the direction of your city to go. So if you're not at that table, then you are going to be in the menu. So I encourage people to vote. I encourage people to get active in the civic organizations, from the NAACP to the Voters League to your local assembly of church or whatever you're a part of, or your mosque or whatever. You need to be active in those organizations so you can form a strong network. I'm a member of a fraternity, the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Yes. So I'm active with the graduate chapter. So we're active. We mentor kids at one of the Fort Hill School. We are partnered together to make change. Right. So that's how you can also, instead of sitting back and criticizing, why don't you do this, or why is it happening, we can all make the individual change. Each one reach one, each one teach one. Mm-hmm. We all have the power to make change and to do some different things in our community to make some change in another person's life. Absolutely. So I always encourage people to be active. So I had to be the first partaker. So I ran for city council about 3 years ago now. So I'll be coming up for another term next year. Where I have to run for 2020, where I have to either run again or not run again. But that's when the election is, May of 2020. Okay. You serve a 4-year term.
Wow. Like that is amazing. And I've heard that statement before, but it's good to hear it. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right.
And so essentially be the change that you want to see.
That's correct.
That's amazing. And so now, what are some of the good and beneficial changes that you're looking forward to here in the city of Lynchburg?
One thing, the city, the population is growing, so we're excited about that. I know you one thing about the city, you see about all the construction.
Right.
Everywhere you go, the road change or road detour sign on 5th Street or Main Street. There are a lot of programs, a lot of construction projects going forward. Right. But we are a growing city. We are a changing city. So that's exciting. But anytime you grow, if a lady is expecting, she's pregnant, she's giving birth, she's going to extend her stomach because she's pregnant. She has a great gift from God. So she's been given, and it may be a difficult time period of growth or some challenges, but in the end, you have a beautiful child after that 9 months. Right. So just like our city, it's going through some growing pains, where we have some old sewer work going forward. We have to exchange out some more electrical work to be rechanged, some underground electrical work they're doing now. So there's so many uprooting of the streets, like on Main Street, on 5th Street, and so many things are going forth. The city has placed a lot of money in downtown in revitalization. So back in the day when I was growing up, downtown was pretty dead. You go to the mall for things, and everybody had kind of left the downtown area. Right. But now, if you go downtown is thriving. We have some great lofts. We have great
Restaurants.
Restaurants. We have the Academy is open now in Basement Square. So many great things that are going on downtown. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. So I'm excited about the change. I'm excited about new developments. We have another one coming up off of Old Forest Road, a housing development. We have hundreds and hundreds of apartments. So I'm so glad to see some more houses come forward in our community. Instead of going to Forest or going somewhere else, we can stay right here in Lynchburg and take part of the great success that's going forward. So I'm excited about the change there. I'm excited about the the many developments that are going forth in the city, the construction projects, and also I'm excited we have a new superintendent in our school system.
Absolutely.
So she's been here for about a year now. We're excited for the change that she's going to bring to the table, and always make sure we support her in those efforts. We have a mayor, Trenae Tweedy, who's doing a great job.
Yes.
So we're thankful to have her. She has the voice of the people. I'm a compassionate soul. So we're thankful for the work that she is doing and leading our city. And we're thankful for Bonnie Sorechek, the city manager, who has been with the city for over 20 years, who has a great insight in working with the budget and working with the city and working with different areas, which she can help escalate the process of in bringing about change in our community. Right. And also in making sure our city is not left behind. And we don't want to be a city that's dead. We don't want to be a city with the downtown that's not thriving. We want to thrive and survive in our city.
Absolutely.
We want it to be a great place to live, work, and play. So I'm excited to see that we have had some challenges with the poverty initiative, with the poverty rate about 24%, which is really high for this area, high for the state of Virginia. So that concerns me. So again, but I'm so glad we are addressing it.
Absolutely.
We have various different committees, from education to employment to training programs to food programs, all just like 12 different groups or so that have formed networks where they're addressing poverty. So I'm glad to see our city, instead of complaining, instead of sitting back about poverty, we are making some change to that. So I think it's called Bridges Out of Poverty or something of that nature. But we have formed various committees where we're making change in our community. So I'm excited to see we have programs that are dedicated to changing citizens, to making a better place for people to live, not just in one group of people, not just one segment of people, but we want to see change for all people, all citizens in our community. It's important to do that.
Absolutely. Well, that is tremendous, and it gets me excited because I'm looking forward to that change as well. And even I've only been here for about 6 to 8 years, and I've just seen the city grow, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I'm excited that we have people who are passionate like yourself, who are pushing to make that positive change for this community. And last thing before we close, last question I have for you. If you had one thing to say to inspire all of those who are watching, what would that be?
And it's interesting. There's one thing you said earlier. It's about fear.
Right.
Because I feel that so many people, instead of launching out into that gift, launching out into that passion, launching out into that calling that God has given you, or that desire you have in your gut feeling, I should do this. I should be a teacher. I should be a lawyer. I should be an engineer. So many times we are afraid to walk out into the deep, to launch out there into the deep because of fear. Oh, my mother was this, or I'm from a single family, or I didn't grow up in the right place. I didn't go to the right school. So many things we'll find roadblocks in our lives ourselves to hinder ourselves. Right. So we're the ones that are in charge of our future. And I try to tell my students, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background, regardless of who you are, we can all bring about change. We can all have the desires of our heart.
Right.
And I think fear is what holds us back. We'll do so many seminars at Jubilee, from poverty initiatives to healthy eating seminars to job training programs. We'll have a group come in and say within 6 months, you can get a job making $20 an hour. And sometimes we get a few that might come to it, but I think it's not flooding because people are afraid. Or I'm afraid to get rid of this assistance. I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid I might not be successful. I might fail. So because I might fail, I'm afraid I will not try to launch out there. So I would encourage people, don't be fearful. Wherever you are, whatever your background, it doesn't make a difference. What your background is, who your mother. My father was he was a pastor, but he was a janitor at East Glass High School. Wow. My mother washed dishes at Randolph-Macon, and sometimes she would come home. I remember, see it right now. She would come home, and when she had her hair out, her hair would be drenched because she had sweated from washing silverware, washing pans, washing dishes for a life, and that kind of lifestyle, even though my parents had this kind of work, they wanted something better for me.
Right.
I didn't look at them and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a janitor." And there's nothing wrong with being a janitor.
Right.
But my parents had a desire for me to do something, and I had a desire to do something. So it was, to me, it was such a blessing that I ended up being the vice chair for our school board.
Yeah.
So because of that fact there, I was the vice chair of our school board. We're in the same building. And when I had to do a presentation to teachers, welcoming them back, I had to give the welcoming address because our chairman was out. But it was so powerful for me to be at Eastie Glass, where I went to school, but also where my father was a janitor.
Right.
So it kind of came in full circle. So we can't hold things back. I know when I went to college, I wanted to go to certain schools I wanted to go to, but I didn't get in at first because my SAT scores weren't all the greatest and all that kind of thing. So I had to go into different schools that I didn't want to at first. But when I went there, it ended up being I went to Virginia State.
Right.
But I didn't want to go there at first. But when I went there is when I found my calling. Is when I went there and I found people that believed in me, where teachers believed in me. Where my professor I majored in accounting for my undergraduate work, and I had Curtis Duke was one of my professors. He was the first black CPA in Virginia, and he was a wonderful teacher. And if I had a certain grade, like a low B or whatever, maybe even a C on a test, he would pull me aside and he'd say, "Wilder, you know you can do better. Come back and take this test again." He was that kind of professor that believed in you. I had a government teacher, E.C. Glass, Miss Connie Coleman. You know, I had turned in it was a test for a scholarship, and I kind of did it fast,
Right.
but I could have done better. So I gave her that scholarship application, and she pulled me aside, Connie Coleman. She pulled me aside and said, "Sterling, I know your work. I know you can do better than this." So it's people like that have poured into me, and also because I know who I am. We had a situation on city council where we were discussing certain things about budgeting issues, you know, and certain people were saying certain things and saying this and attacking you for what you were doing, for what was right for the people in our community.
Right.
And I'm so thankful that my parents, I'm so thankful more so for my faith in God that know who I am.
Yeah.
So because of fear, if I had fear, I would have doubted what I was doing. I would have doubted who I was. I would have doubted and believed in myself. But because I didn't have that fear, because I had been taught by God of who I am, who pours into me, that I have the power of God within me.
Yes.
So therefore, I don't have fear.
Right.
So I walk out into the deep. Right now I'm in the doctoral program at University of Lynchburg. I'm not the smartest person. I understand that. I may not get to all the highest GPAs and all the highest marks, but I am at the table. I am in the class. So my doctoral degree is going to be the same as the other person's doctoral degree. They might have got a 4.0 completely. Mine might be a 3.6. But regardless, we're still going to be doctors. And we're still going to have the same degree. We'll still have the same title. We'll be complete. So I'm excited about that because I know who I am and I know I have the power of God within me. So therefore, I have no fear. So I don't mind going up for city council. I don't mind speaking up when issues come arise that my people are the people that will affect them, and I don't mind speaking out. So again, I encourage people, don't be fearful. Make sure you're voting. Make sure you're launching out. Make sure you're trying your best to make a difference in the community. Sometimes we don't want to mentor because I might be rejected. Or sometimes we say, I can't mentor because I didn't have a father. Therefore, you need to give back even more so because you know what it's like to be in a home without a father or without a mother. So therefore, you have a special gift that you can share with someone else. So we all have to make sure we're doing our part. We have to make sure we're changing this world one person at a time, and don't be fearful of what we're doing.
Amen. You just preached right into my heart, and I cannot thank you enough. Guys, make sure that you guys thank Mr. Wilder for being on the show. What he said is truly amazing, and I believe God was just speaking right through you. So I cannot thank you enough for being on the show. But I'm not going to let you go just yet.
Yes, sir.
We do have a gift for you.
Okay.
All right. So the chief wife officer, my lovely wife, who is working with us, and thank you so much, dear, for keeping us on track. We do have a gift for you. So I picked this out for you.
Wow.
And it says, Mind Open 24/7. And I saw this and I thought of you because I know that here at the Jubilee Center and even with City Council, you work with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different perspectives. And I understand how important it is to keep an open mind.
Yes.
And so I wanted to give you this as a gift of encouragement And last but not least, as we always do, we ended up framing this for you.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
So we framed this for Mr. Wilder. So guys, make sure that if you're in Lynchburg, Lynchburg City, and you're looking for a great outlet here to remain positive, to remain encouraged, to be active, and even to help you get a jump start on pursuing your dreams, make sure that you pay the Jubilee Center a visit. There are a lot of communities who don't have a Jubilee Center, who don't have a positive outlet for the kids or even for the adults. So if you're here in Lynchburg City, make sure that you stop by. And Mr. Wilder, thank you so much once again.
And thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here, and I appreciate the work you and your wife are doing in our community. Thank you for having me today. I'm just another member of our community to try to make a difference. But thank you also for you both trying to make a difference in our community.
Absolutely, absolutely. So guys, we will see you all next week on a brand new episode of Keepin with Shaquille. Make sure that you go like us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, and make sure to go follow us on YouTube. And make sure that you share the word, share this video. People all around the world need to hear it. So guys, thank you so much. I love you, and I'm going to go ahead and end it. See you all next week.